Hello everyone, we'll be working in the 1.4.1 Suite Improvements assignment where we're making the Do Nothing machine. If you're feeling confident, you can use this Google slide presentation to create the part files to use so that we can assemble it later. However, I definitely recommend at least watching the first two here with me so that you make sure that you set them up correctly. You don't want to end up with two different parts on the same component, otherwise they kind of end up stuck together. So looking in Fusion, we're going to want to save this file as the 1.4.1 Suite Improvements. And then you'll see the name of this file right here at the top. This is important to note as we go forward. So we're going to start out by creating a component, and we're going to put that component here. It should automatically select it since you don't have anything there yet. And click OK, and you'll see that this is our first component. I'm going to name it under Properties. Our first component is going to be the base. First, we're going to start out with a sketch. I'm going to put this sketch here on this top plane and draw a rectangle. You want to make sure that you're in millimeters, so you can see that I'm not. You could see that whenever I started drawing the rectangle that I'm not in millimeters. So I'm going to come over here to my units and change that to millimeters, and then I can come in and fix those dimensions. So it should be 150 on each side. Finish that sketch, and then we're going to extrude it, and we'll extrude it for a distance of 35 millimeters. Like that. Then we're going to start a sketch over on this surface. I find it difficult to draw this little trapezoid shape on here without accidentally snapping to like a midpoint or something like that. So I definitely recommend drawing it over here. You don't have to have your dimensions correct yet. I am going to add an angle between these two, which should be 76, I think. I want the left side and the right side to be equal to one another. I want the height to be 17.5 and the width to be 25. So between here and here, I want that to be 17.5 and then the base to be 25. There. Now, I'm going to press escape, and then I'm going to right click, hold, and drag to select this whole trapezoid shape, and I'm going to Control C to copy it, and then we're going to use it in a few minutes. Now I'm going to come over here to modify, and I'm going to select move, and I want to move this shape. I'm going to change over here from point to point. You shouldn't have to change anything else except that, and you'll click this top line and then this top little blue arrow like that. Control Z. That didn't move it the way that I wanted it to, so I'm going to try it again. Modify, move it, point to point. I want the whole line to there. There we go. Now it's in the center. And press OK. Then we'll finish that sketch, rotate to more of an isometric view, extrude, select that trapezoid, and then just drag it back through the object and press OK. Now repeat that process, come over here, create a sketch, but this time on this side. And now I'm going to Control V to paste that sketch that I copied from before. It might automatically pop it into place for you like it did on the previous one. If it doesn't, then just move it there like we did before. Using this point option, click the top of the line and then that little blue arrow that pops up. Pressing OK, finish that sketch, extrude the trapezoid, drag it all the way through, and press OK. Then we'll come back in, add our fillet. Looking back, the radius of that fillet is going to be 5, and you want to select all of the top edges along with these 4 vertical edges all the way around. Make sure you rotate so that you can see the other side as well. So you get all 4 of those vertical edges, and we want that radius to be 5. And now you have created the base. Now here comes the tricky part. You want to be super careful here so you don't end up with 2 parts within this one component. Each component should be its own thing. We're going to come back to create like we did before, choose new component, click the X over here beside parent because it's automatically going to assume that the previous part that you made should be the parent, and it's not. You want to X that out and now click up here at the top for our base and then press OK. And now you should see that that component pops under here, and it's with its own arrow, it's its own component and not under here. So if you have a component that pops up under here, you want to get rid of that. I'll show you what that looks like just in case you accidentally do that. So I'm going to create component, uncheck that, and let's just say I put it there on accident and just not realizing that that's what I did, and press OK. You see how this component pops up underneath here, and now this base is like its own group of things or its own assembly. That's not what we want. We want them to be separate, like this base and this component too are. So I'm just going to delete that and then come back over here. If you press this little button here, it will activate that component. I also want to make sure that I'm renaming things so that it's easier for me to navigate. And this time I'm going to do the slider. Now, even at this point you're feeling pretty confident, I would hold off before you X out of this video. I'm going to show you most 3D modeling programs don't allow you to do things like copy and paste like we did with this trapezoid a few minutes ago. They also definitely don't let you copy and paste components, but this program will let you do that. So to start out, I'm going to create the slider. If you do it this way, it'll save you a lot of time. So I'm going to start a sketch, and I'm going to put it here because I'm going to draw this trapezoid here. In the other video, I think it puts it in the middle, and I just didn't like working that way. So I decided that I'm going to try it this way. If you drop down under create, there's a button called project. It's a shortcut key for P. If you click on that, it'll let you select this face of your base and press OK. And now you have some usable edges here that you can use to create the slider that goes inside of there. This will save you a lot of time because it eliminates the need to draw or create the angle in between the lines. So now I'm going to come here and come up following this spacing, and I just want it to fall in line and snap to that 76 degrees, but the height of it doesn't really matter. I'm going to do the same thing over here if it'll let me, like that. If it doesn't, then feel free to come back to this starting point and work your way back around in the other direction. So that should create that object for me. And then I'm going to finish, oh, nope, I don't want to finish that sketch. I want to come back and edit it. I'm going to come back here and edit the sketch because I forgot to assign the height to it. And the height, now that we're on the slider, is going to be 25. And I also want to go ahead and put that hole in there before I move on. So there, this height should be 25. Making sure this is still like parallel for this one and horizontal. Finish that sketch, coming back to an isometric view so I can see what I'm working with. Extrude, choose the shape, and then it should have a width of 50. I want to go this way, so negative 50, just so then it's already in there. It's easier to look at, but if you want to do positive 50, that's also fine. It doesn't really affect anything. Now I'm going to start a sketch on the top. I'm going to create a point, and then that point should snap to this midpoint, and it should snap to this midpoint, allowing you to put that center, put that point for your hole in the center horizontally and vertically without having to dimension anything. Moving back out to an isometric view, I can create a hole, selecting this point here. Obviously, it's eating up the entire slider. We're going to look back at our dimensions and see that it has a diameter of 8 and goes down a depth of 20. So I want this to be 20, and then this to be 8, and I want a flat drill point on the inside like that. And now you've completed that next component. So then I think we can come over here and we can copy this slider and then paste that slider in there again. And so now you can see we have 2 of those sliders. So if you want to just copy it, you can. I know we're building it on the inside, but it's not constrained to anything at all. But it does help us use the geometry of the previous things to help us draw it. It saves you a lot of time. All right, then, just like before, I'm going to come over here and not create a sketch. But I am going to create a component. Again, uncheck or close out of that parent and choose your overall document so they all end up in there together. And I'm going to name this one as the handle. Oops. And press close. All right, this time I'm going to start a sketch. You can put it wherever you want to. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to put it there. Okay, I think we're still good. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle, and the rectangle should be 200 by 18. So 200 by 18, like this. And then I'm going to extrude it for a distance of 6. So finish that sketch, extrude, 6, and then I'm going to start a sketch on the top and put some points. I need 3 of them, and then it'll be 12, 75, and then 10. So I'm going to come over here to create, choose a point, lining up with that midpoint again, so they're all vertically aligned or horizontal depending on the orientation of your screen. I want 3 of them in a line together, and then I want to dimension from this edge to this one to be 10. Go back and double check, and then from this one to be 75, and then from this one to this edge to be 12. And then I'll double check. So I've got 12, 75, and then 10 from this side. And then I'm going to come in and drill these holes out, and they each have a diameter of 8, and they go all the way through the object. So finish that sketch. Coming back over here, you can see that these things have become like transparent so that you know that you're only working with this object here, creating a hole. I'm going to select all 3 of these, change that diameter, make sure it's 8. The depth of it doesn't really matter as long as it's going all the way through. Press OK. And now you have completed your third part. And now that's all that we have left are the handle pin and the pins that go in here. So if I'm looking at it, if you look at the assembly of the Do Nothing machine, you can see here, you may not be able to tell, but these 2 holes are the ones that are the closest together. And then you've got a pretty big distance between the end point here and the handle. So in here, we're going to be drilling, we're going to be putting a handle pin or a slider pin, and then this one here on the end is going to be your handle pin. I found it really useful earlier to build the pin inside of the hole, so then I could use that geometry without having to like dimension anything. So let's start with this handle pin first. I'm going to just put it on the end. I need a hole that has a diameter of 8, but the diameter of those holes is already 8, so I can just put a circle there and extrude it. And then I'm going to build one right on top that's concentric, that has a 14mm diameter, and extrude it up, and then we'll be able to chamfer the edges. So I'm going to create a new component. Again, close that out. We want to select this as our parent, and then you can go ahead and change the name here if you want to. It'll save you some time. This is called the handle pin. Press OK. Now I'm going to start a sketch on here, and then I'm going to project that geometry of this circle again and press OK. And so now I have that shape without having to draw it. I'm going to extrude just that part down -6 this time and press OK. And then I'm going to start another sketch on the top of this little cylinder. This time we're going to draw a circle that's concentric, so sharing that same center point, but we want it to have a diameter of 14. Finish that sketch, and then we'll extrude both parts up a distance of 25. So a positive 25 this time, and then we will add a chamfer around the edge that is in a distance and angle option. It should have a distance of 2 and an angle of 45 degrees. Pressing OK. So all of this that you've done all of this in your tutorial so far. You've done chamfers, you've done holes, you've extruded, you've revolved, all of this stuff. This one could have been made with a revolve as well by just creating like either the left or the right side profile and then using this vertical line as your axis. Whichever one you wanted to do. Okay, so now now that we have this part, we're going to skip over and do this slider pin, and we'll do this one the same way that we did the slider, in the sense that we'll make it one time and then copy it in there again. So I'm going to create a new component again, choosing the overall document as our parent, and we're going to name this the slider pin. And this time I'm going to use some geometry from here. So I'm going to start a sketch and put it there. And then I'm going to project my geometry of this little shape, pressing OK. I'm going to finish that sketch and extrude just the center. This time, our distance is much greater. We want this to go down 25, but negative, remember, negative will take you down. -25. I'm going to start another sketch on top here, and then this time the top still has that diameter of 14 and that chamfer of 45 degrees. So I'm going to put a circle, concentric, diameter of 14, finish that sketch. It's extruded 4 because 29 minus 25 is 4. We're going to extrude both components, remember, a distance of 4, and then we can add that chamfer in right here. That's 2 and 45. And now at this point, you've created all of your components. So we can come back and looking here, we can activate this entire project that we have, and then we're going to copy that pin So now we have 2 of them. Oh, wait. Copy, paste, and press OK. Sorry. And now you have 2 of them in there. All right, so cool. Now you've got your 2 solder pins. Oh, now I have 3. That was an accident. Let's delete one. Oh, no. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. All right, so this should create all of your pieces. That one did not copy the way that I wanted it to. So I'm going to come back to where I did this. There we go. Okay, now I think they're in there. All right, so now once you're at this point, you have completed all of the parts. And so then we'll be able to assemble them in the next video.